Salvete. We are doing the fifth declension now, the last one. And like the fourth declension, there's not a whole lot of nouns that are fifth declension compared to the first three, but there's some important ones. So we're going to do dies, very important word, day. And the way that you identify the fifth declension is by its genitive, which is da, spelled like this. de, and then the ending is ei. So, and that's a long I right there. So, whereas, actually the E is long too. All your declensions, first declension AE, that tells you that it's first. Second declension, long I. Third declension, IS. Fourth declension, US. And then fifth declension, EI. So DA. And DA is masculine, and it means day, of course. So the nominative is dies, and then and it's actually a long E there, should be. And then the plural is exactly like the singular. It's also dies. They're the same. And hopefully you might notice that's the same as third declension too. So no difference. The genitive is da, long. And then the genitive plural is dierum. And you might say, oh, that's kind of reminds me of aurum and aurum. It's really similar. Notice all genitives end in an aurum, aurum, if they're plural, uum, and now you have erum. Notice that the main vowel in the fifth declension is E, is the main vowel that you're going to see. Whereas in fourth declension it was U, lots of U's. Main vowel is E in fifth declension. The dative is just like the genitive, da, and I believe they're both long, yes. And then the dative plural, it's diebus. So whereas here for the third and fourth we had ebus, because E is our main letter in the fifth declension, it's abus with an E instead of ebus. Very similar though, otherwise. Almost exactly the same, just that E overrides it. And then for accusative, it's diem, like carpe diem, right? Seize the day. Diem should remind you of third declension there, and like all the other declensions, has that M in the accusative singular. And then dies for the plural, and notice it's just like the nominative plural. Okay. Also the same type of pattern with leones, es in third, and us in fourth. So a lot of similar patterns here. And then the ablative is da. So, if you're saying time expressions, you use the ablative also, always. Media die, in the middle of the day. Media nocte, in the middle of the night. And you notice it keeps the ablative singular principle of ending in a vowel, just like all the other ones. That ends in a U, that ends in an E, A, and O. Okay, and this is a long E. And then the rule on the dative and ablative plurals is they're always the same. So diebus, okay? In a few days, paucis diebus, in a few days. Paucis diebus, the ablative time expression. Okay, and that's the fifth declension. I'm going to go through a few little principles here that apply for all the declensions, and just make some notes here. So for the vocative, remember the vocative, voco in Latin, is to call. It's the calling case, when you call someone's name, like when I call you in class. If your name was Amanda and you were followed the first declension, I would just say Amanda, because usually the nominative and the vocative are the same. I don't have the vocative listed on here because it's usually always the same as the nominative. I'd say Amanda. If your name was Mariah, I'd say Mariah. If your name was something else that ended in A, I'm going to say just A. Rebecca, I'm going to say just A. And all the other declensions, the same works. If I want to say, hey, lion, I just say Leo, okay? It would work the same way. If you call somebody or you call a thing, you use the nominative. The only exception to the rule is the second declension. For some reason, the Romans really don't like saying, like Quintus would be a second declension. They don't like saying, hey, Quintus. They say Quintus if he's a subject of a sentence, but they don't say Quintus if they're calling him. They say Quinte. They change the U to E. So if it's Quintus, you don't say, hey, Quintus. You say Quinte. And hopefully you notice that sometimes when I do that in class. If someone's name is Robertulus, like Robbie, or Robertus, I say Robertule or Roberte. I don't say the us. If their name ends in ius and they're a second declension, like Salvius, this is the other little exception here. You don't say, hey, Salvius. You say, it changes to Salvi, just to an I. Mi salvi, mi quinte. And that's just how the Romans like to do it. Other than that, all other declensions, the nominative is the same as the vocative in all of their declensions. Second declension is the only exception, so it's a good rule to know. For other patterns to watch for, what do we notice our accusative singulars always end in? Accusative singulars always end in an M. They have a different vowel in front of them, but they end in an M. So we'll say they end in M. Now, there's some exceptions to this, as you're going to see in neuters. Neuters don't always end in M for some declensions, especially in the third. But for the most part, it's a general rule that applies, 95% of the time. Accusative singulars end in M. Now, of course, there's other cases that end in M too, like genitive, and you just have to learn how to distinguish if something is a genitive versus an accusative. Plurals always end in what? Dies, portus, leones, puellas, amigos. They always end in S. And that, has been preserved in most of the Romance languages, like in Spanish. Amigos, okay, the S is there. Ablative singulars, I've been talking about this a little bit. They always end in a vowel, right? It's a different vowel for each declension, but it's a vowel. Dies also. So we say a vowel, and usually a long vowel. Third declension is short. I'm sorry, but mostly it's vowel is long. And ablatives and dative plurals, they always end in either is if it's first or second declension, or ibus if it's third or fourth, and then the fifth is abus, almost like ibus, but just with that one vowel different. So you'll notice that dative and ablative plurals always end in these, and they're always the same in their declension. And that's it. Walete.